Let's talk about the main topic today. Earth 1, Volume 2 of Green Lantern. Mm-hmm. The saga of Harold Jordan. It is Hal, but the Guardian in this book refers to him.
Don't they all? I believe everybody refers to him as Harold Jordan, even the Earth people. Because I just read it last night.
Damn it. Sorry. I dropped some other books that were
I believe in the first book he's referred to as Hal, but in the second one I don't think he's referred to as Hal by anyone. I really don't.
But us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think that's part of design by the writer.
Trying to make him a little differentiate. Well, and I'll say this because we'll do what we did last week. We'll get into spoiler-free talks about the book before we really spoil the fuck out of it for you. So if we could sway a little bit to read it and then come back and listen.
Sweat, yeah, a little bit.
Sweat, yeah. So it's my spoiler-free thoughts were I absolutely loved it. Yeah. It had a lot to live up to because I really liked the first book. But I think it took what I really loved about the first book and really expanded on it in this one. And took some chances with the lore of Green Lantern and did what Earth 1 books are supposed to do, give a different interpretation. And I can honestly say, without spoiling anything, and I think I said it last week, I'll say it again this week, this is my favorite interpretation of a Hal Jordan. The
Green Lantern mythos, I am a big fan of it. At this point in regular DC continuity, it's gotten pretty convoluted. There's like 9 different colors of rings. Each, there's like the red rage ring and the orange theft ring.
Well, I mean,
klepto ring, basically.
To be fair, Blackest Night was a cool story arc.
But
what brought that in?
It's become so dense now.
There's red lanterns. Yeah, you're right.
If you're a casual fan, you're like, what in the fuck?
There's orange lanterns and get red.
I recently picked up I think issue 24 of the Grant Morrison, Liam Sharp Green Lantern, which started off
Green Lantern,
off as like a cop, like a
police procedural,
an intergalactic. I wanted to check it out. Yeah. I never got on board until. Again, the last issue of year 2 is what it's called.
I'm Grant Morrison. You should read about my Green Lanterns.
It was the most, there's no way. I understood none of it. It's so fucking dense with, if you don't know what's going on, it's like you don't care.
Well, and that's the thing that I love about these Earth 1 books.
Yeah, you get to get on the ground floor.
Yeah, and they're these are movies. You're reading a movie. They're self-contained stories. Yes, there's things in these books to continue them. That's because that's just comic books by nature. But honestly, the volume 2, the way it ends, you don't necessarily need to make a volume 3.
You don't.
It ends on a note that you want a volume 3, but you don't necessarily need it to complete the story.
When we get into spoilers, I'll tell why I think they could.
Yeah, that's my spoiler-free thoughts on volume 2. What are your thoughts?
I loved it. I not necessarily by design, but I ended up reading this last night after I got off work.
It's actually smart to do it right before the show.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. I mean, the thing I love about both these books is that. I devoured them both immediately in one sitting. There was no hold on, I devoured them both in one sitting because they're so good and you can't help but turn the page. I know, it's a real page turner. Seriously, I know it's also a fucking cliche. I couldn't put it down, but I couldn't. I was like, dude, I'm almost okay. So this part of the story is almost done, but then this. No, I got to see how this is. It's just so fucking good, and they take some liberties, and that really pays off. Yeah, and
that's what really makes Earth 1 work is their freedom to do that.
Right.
Well, and to what you were saying that it's.
Tell me when we get into the spoiler part because. I want to talk about the end.
Yeah, but I love that the liberties that they take. Again, we'll get there. I promise you. I just want to give some people a little bit more time to listen before they, to read it to come back to the spoilers.
Right.
But just how you're right, and it's pacing. No matter what medium you're in, it's video games, it's movies, books, TV, whatever. Pacing is a thing, and pacing is important. And I think these books are paced incredibly well. I think they move quickly, but they give enough time in between to settle you down, give you some exposition, give you some character moments, and then throw you back into the action.
One of the best movies of the last, decade, of the last 50 years, I think, one of the better movies was Infinity War. I think a lot of people probably saw that, and it's really good. And you take a shitload of threads and try and tie it into a central story. And that is essentially what both of these books do really, really well, is they know when to go, okay, we're going to go away from these people and over to these people. And honestly, they do it in such a way, you're so engrossed in each aspect of the story that when they jump to somebody else, you're like, oh yeah, these guys. Mm-hmm. Because you're so engrossed, and then you get engrossed in that, and then, oh yeah, those guys.
And I got to say,
fucking great.
Both books...
and it's not hyperbole, I love it.
In different ways, both books did an amazing job of giving you impending dread, impending doom for Hal Jordan. And so when he does succeed and where he, you think it's all hope is lost and he does get that extra bit of willpower, it's awesome. Like, you're excited about it. And that's why I think, and the way that, and look, this Hal Jordan isn't as quippy and fun.
He's more of a hero than Green Lantern in the regular DC continuity, honestly.
He is. He really is. He's so much more heroic in these books, and that's why I think I like his character more.
I'm not saying Hal Jordan wouldn't, but...
No, and I'm a big Green Lantern fan all around, so I like Hal Jordan, and I like Jon Stewart, and I like how they do...
the way they played with Jon Stewart was pretty cool, too.
I have mixed feelings about Guy Gardner. Is he the one that got punched by Batman?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like Guy Gardner.
Well, I
haven't really read anything about Alan Scott.
I've never really been a huge fan, but he did show up in Brave and the Bold.
I haven't really read Alan Scott, but...
By the way, Brave and the Bold, one of the greatest cartoons
Point is,
ever.
the Green Lanterns that I grew up with were Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, because Jon Stewart was in the cartoon.
Now there's like 19 for Earth.
So, we both loved it. It's great. Now is your warning. We're gonna spoil the shit out of this book.
Yes.
We're talking about every fucking
I can't wait, actually.
So, that's your warning? And from now on... we can talk about whatever the fuck we want. Accordions? This book's got accordions in it?
Dude, I actually want to start with... I want to start with the end because, yes, you were talking about the sequel. Yeah. Like, there could be a sequel, but you don't need to.
Yeah, but I think we should go through the story and get to that end.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, yeah. But I do have some serious thoughts on whether or not there should be a sequel.
Yeah, so we open up the book... with Larians. It's 2
It's about 3 years after the end of the first book.
Volume 2 takes place 3 years after Volume 1.
The Battle of Oa is what it's called.
And there's space travel has become more capable for humans because of Hal Jordan, because of his abilities as the Green Lantern, and get the technologies that they need. Mm-hmm. Also, they mention this in the first book, but it becomes a bigger deal in this book. Hal was using that knowledge to create a dimensional bridge, which is something that they did reference in the first book, and I totally forgot about. And they do bring it up here in this one. And so space isn't as big of a final frontier as it was. Like, we're at the point where we can start getting into mastering space travel. So Larians show up, and that's the first time an alien life form has come into Earth. And it's a diplomatic mission. It's to say, look, we're allies. Yeah. We're not here to fight.
The book opens with the Larians arriving at Earth.
And there's 2 satellites.
Something that's been planned for a couple of months, ever since, Harold Jordan is hailed by some as a hero and by others as a traitor, but he is well known on Earth for what he did, and he has helped usher in this era of trading, basically, and meeting with these other alien cultures,
Yeah.
But like you said, there's 2 satellites, and one of them is called Arrowhead.
And the other one is run by Ferris Aerospace,
right?
Or whatever,
that works,
which is another cool twist, because we knew that from the first book that Carol's family weren't planes, that they were spaceships.
I'm glad you mentioned her. But what ends up happening is there's a tragedy where it appears the guy on Arrowhead, which is a offensive, kind of defensive satellite for the Earth, with weapons and stuff, he gets the order to fire. And he's like, you know what?
Wait, this is a diplomatic mission. We shouldn't be doing this.
And that's fine. But then something happens and the Larians are fired upon anyway. So all these 3 people are taken hostage.
I'm trying to get the names. I know one of them's Jon Stewart.
Jon Stewart. And then the other 2 are not necessarily important. I don't think that they're in continuity, but
we find out later that one of them's colorblind. I guess that's the big...
That is really cool, actually, the way she goes out, because she's like, it's actually not color coded. It's common sense.
Yeah, you don't need to see color to see that.
Which sucks that it. Yeah, we'll get to that.
Again, these books made death impactful.
Yeah.
They because they're so self-contained and they're their own story, that the characters will die and it'll impact everything.
At this point, the Green Lantern Corps is still trying to eradicate the universe of Manhunters. They eventually get to a point where they think they can.
They're back on Oa. And they're fully...
Hal Jordan gets his ass kicked by the Yellow Lantern on Larian first.
We were skipping the whole thing. The Larians take the humans as hostage.
Right, yeah.
They go back to their homeworld. Hal goes to Laria to be like, hey, man... I don't know what happened, but this is something like I didn't say we should do that, whatever. Yeah, trying to talk them down. And because the Larians took them prisoners, which honestly it makes sense. The way
later in the book realize it wasn't as
not even that. I'm just saying in general on surface level, I think it makes sense because I don't know. I feel like that would happen in real life.
Oh yeah.
Why wouldn't they take those humans hostage to immediately be like, whoa, motherfuckers, we'll kill these people? But anyway, because humans would definitely do that. Yes, we would. So, yeah, he goes to Laria, and there's a Yellow Lantern there, which we know exists because they got referenced in the first book because the Guardian said, this is my best creation. And he's like, hey, I'm the protector of this planet, fuck off. And Hal Jordan's like, why are you yellow then? And he's just like, I'm the protector. Fuck. They have a little fight, but yeah, the Yellow Lantern his ring is much more powerful.
The Yellow Lantern wipes the floor with Jordan.
Yeah. So then Hal's like, fuck it, I'll go back to Oa and talk to Aricia, yeah, that's it. And I had the S in the wrong place.
So glad they
kept her as the leader of the Green Lanterns.
Changed her character from regular DC continuity. Yeah. Because she deserves
a badass in this book.
She deserves to be a badass. What happened to that other Yellow Lantern? I took him down. Okay.
Well, he accepted. Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, she's leading the Green Lanterns, and they never say, but Sinestro's kind of like one of her top advisors. He seems to be in the room with her a lot.
It seems like it's it seems that if there's any sort of like hierarchy, the top 4 are like Jordan, Kilowog, Sinestro, and Aricia, and maybe Tomar Ray shows up in that area a little bit too. He's the fish-looking dude.
Yeah.
Which I loved how they made him one of the guys who defects when we get there.
Yeah. Well, and remember the fucking cockroach-looking one? They had a Green Lantern alien that looked like a bug.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this giant fly doing?
Sorry, Aricia. Get fucked, you cockroach.
Fuck you, mother... I'm going to fly swatter right now.
We would not do well with
no, dude, alien. You better believe I'd make a giant fly swatter with my ring and swat that motherfucker. You better believe it. So anyway, yeah. Hal comes back to Aricia and says, hey, can you help me with the Larians? There's, it kind of explains the whole situation. She's like, yeah, we can work something out.
We can try.
She's like,
no promises.
And then all of a sudden, this radar, they see on the radar all these Manhunters. And it looks like they're all coming back to Oa to
the
recharge.
Rest of them.
Yeah. Whatever's left. And Sinestro's like, we need to fucking attack right now. And Aricia's
wipe them out.
He's right. We need to go. So she's like, we'll talk about the Laria thing after this. And Hal Jordan's like, okay, let's fucking do it.
Him and Kilowog actually have kind of a fight.
Oh, they hug. I forgot about that. They hug. When Kilowog meets Hal Jordan.
No, yeah.
It was cute.
At some point, they have a fight, though.
It's cute. That's not what they fight about, though. This isn't what they fight about. Anyway. They go and fight the Manhunters, and they're like, wait, why is this so quiet? There's like nothing going on. And they fly, and then...
Hey, there were never mountains here. Oh, because they're not mountains. They're giant mounds of dead Manhunter robots.
Because all these other...
Because like 5 Yellow Lanterns wiped them all out.
Yeah.
Compared to like how many in the GL Corps? Yeah. So they're basically like, oh shit. And then the Guardian shows up.
We saw in the first book how hard it was for all of the... And you could argue if they were fully powered or not, but you saw how much of a struggle it was in the first book to kill Manhunters, because Manhunters are like this unstoppable force in the first book, and then to see the main antagonists from the first book get fucking decimated by the Yellow Lanterns, you're like, oh shit.
By like a couple of them.
And then this is what I love about this book is I can't like, and I'm pretty sure I said this last week, but I don't like the Guardians on Oa. I don't like that for whatever. I just can't get, because, and I understand that it's by design, because no matter what story you're talking about, the Guardians are always the dicks. And it would make sense if they have all this power to make these unbelievable things that divide law and physics and science, and put them on people, or put them on organisms, whatever you want to call aliens,
right?
And say, go around the universe and fucking be cops.
Well, don't forget.
Well, why wouldn't they get corrupted and be like, why wouldn't we make a stronger ring?
The Guardians don't show up for a while in original Green Lantern continuity.
Yeah.
They are actually, I don't know if they're created until like the late 60s even.
But anyway, so I never liked Guardians anyway. And so when we get that twist in the first book of, oh, that Guardian that talked to Hal, he is the last Guardian, but he created the Yellow Lanterns. So he's a villain. So you already know that coming in. But his entrance, surprisingly badass for a Guardian.
Yeah.
Because all these Yellow Lanterns are like floating over these corpses of Manhunters, right?
Yes.
And then the Guardian comes in, and it's just, you see like a yellow bolt of lightning in the panel. I gotta look at this. I gotta pull this up, because I mean, I know it's not video, I know it's audio, but it's hard to describe the look of it. But it's like this big yellow bolt of lightning crash lands onto Oa, and it's the last Guardian from the first book, and he's like, "These are my lanterns." Yeah, it's just the panel layout in this book. Some sequences have these layouts where these margins are defying the rest of the page.
Fantastic.
Because there's this, you look at one page, it's juxtaposed to this cool entrance by the Guardian where it's this bolt of lightning crash lands, does a superhero landing, and he says, "Welcome to Oa," or should I say, "Welcome home." And he's got all these fucking yellow lanterns floating around him. I'm pissed because really cool entrance, and I hate the Guardians. But you look at this, and it's got weird margins, and then right next to it, it's a well-structured, normal comic.
The Guardians
and it's what you said,
offer is very tempting, by the way.
It's what you said is pacing. Because you have this big moment, he lands, "Welcome to Oa, welcome home." He says, "Now I have a proper position for you." Sets up these stakes, and then boom, we're back to, oh yeah, there's hostages.
While we have the book open,
it ping-pongs between the two plots.
I do want to refer to one laugh out loud moment for me, which I thought was great. Where the fuck is it?
You should have. I got a vamp.
What could those foot pedals possibly be for? Foot pedal? And it's a rest for the Laren's tail.
For his tail, yeah.
Which I laughed out loud at that. I was like,
So now we know the stakes. Last Guardians unmasked.
Like, you can't vamp for a little bit.
The Last Guardians unmasked himself, says, "Hey, I can give you this power," kind of thing. But So then we find out more about the hostage situation. Those guys they're trying to sort that out. And they've been talking about how a Yellow Lantern shows up in the transport ship that they're in, and one of the characters she's like purple hair, and I can't remember her name, but she's like, "Look, a Green Lantern," and he's like, "That's yellow." Wait, are you colorblind?
I just guessed on a lot of stuff.
And it ties back to the end where like she didn't need to. It was common. She knew,
right? Like
she was. It didn't matter that she couldn't see the color coding. She knew how to do it. She knew
perfect
the logic
line
of it
for the character.
Yeah.
But yeah. So he offers he offers the ring to Hal Jordan, because at that moment I think aren't they?
Well, no, we haven't even gotten to that yet, because that situation happens. Then we come back to Oa. We talk about in between that we go back to Ferris Aerospace, and they see something on the map. We don't know what it is, and like we need to get Hal.
Yeah, like they see something on the footage of the Larian attack.
Yes, of the Larian attack. They have footage of it, and so they see something, but we don't know what it is. So then we go back to, again, pacing. It's just smart how this all works together. Because when I say it out loud, I was like, damn, this is a good, well-constructed story. So we go back to Oa. Then the Guardian says, okay, here's my proposition for you. We can make the universe better with these yellow rings. They're stronger. They're more powerful. I've had more time to work on these. You've seen what we could do with a handful of us against Manhunters. Because I've made rings for all of you, and you can join me right now. And he immediately goes to Hal. Hal's like, no, I know. I met you before. I don't know. I don't trust you. Because you said to destroy the power core, and I didn't, that battery or whatever. So then they leave. Aricia says the same thing. She's like, no, we're leaving. So all the Lanterns go back to their little base.
They start leaving.
They start going back to they go back to their homeworlds, if I remember correctly.
Well, no, they start leaving, but then Sinestro...
They go to the base first. And Sinestro Sinestro's like, I'm fucking joining the Guardian, dude. You saw what they could do against Manhunters. Could you imagine what we could do with that power? Yeah. And then there's the whole Hal Jordan Sinestro thing starts to play out. I think she
says they lose 20% of the GL core.
Yeah.
Back to the Guardian. Now, as was suspected, it's not a great trade.
No. Which, again, I like that they do a different setup, but it's still the same thing. Like how because fear isn't and willpower and fear don't necessarily power the rings in this continuity.
No. In fact, it's two big giant batteries.
But the people that usually wear them are good people. Like Aricia said no. Hal said no. Kilowog said no. We'll get into that. But, so that whole, I like that. And again, I like that it's old, or takes the continuity and still does it. And I was going to say this earlier in our spoiler-free section, but what I love about these books, and I think why you love them so much as well, is it embraces the mythos of Green Lantern. It embraces all of the history of it. And like you were saying, manages to make it digestible, manages to make it work in 2 books.
Right.
And what they were able to do with the fear and the willpower and cut that out, cut out the choosing of it, it's a much more compelling story because anybody could wield that fucking ring.
Right.
Which is such a cool aspect.
Yeah, there's never
and I love the idea that
the ring never chooses. It's handed to people.
And I love the idea that it's not will versus fear. It's just my power versus your power.
I think in the Green Lantern, like in regular DC continuity, if like Hal Jordan like gave his ring to somebody else, I don't know, can they use it? Or like is there...
Yeah, I mean,
because it's his ring, can they not use it if the ring didn't choose them or something?
Not in the main continuity.
I don't know.
No, the ring has to choose you.
Yeah. But it doesn't,
this one, you can just wear it, whatever.
Right. In fact, I'm not even sure that Hal Jordan still has the original ring that he started with.
Yeah, and I also want to just say, if you come out and explicitly say it's Green Lantern Earth 1 to just appease everybody, because we know how fans are online, if you come out and explicitly say Earth 1, and you made this on like HBO Max, or no, just release it, wide release. People would enjoy it. These are movies. You should do whatever you're doing with Green Lantern. Throw it out and make these. If you're not already doing that. Yeah. But so what I love about this is it isn't tied to fear, but the Last Guardian expects you to be obedient.
Right.
He forces you to be obedient with these.
That ties into a whole like subterfugal thing.
Because when they get back to the base, Sinestro has a good point where Sinestro's like saying, "Hey," or Hal's like, "Well, what if he wants to oppress you and make you like look at them? They all fell in line."
Him and Kilowog get into a fight.
Well, because he's saying there was no diversity in the Lanterns. They were all they all looked the same. They all fell in line like they were in uniform. Like he's like, this wasn't like what we are. We are a team, but we're still a group of people. We're a group of different living.
Kilowog in this story, I'm not sure about regular DC continuity, but he comes from quite a fascist society.
And Hal Jordan says that, and he goes, "Watch your fucking tone, pal."
Because Kilowog's like, "Well, what's so bad about that?"
Because Kilowog wants to join Sinestro, and he says, "Why not? This is giving us more power. You saw what they could do. We could do more for the universe." Because Kilowog is still coming from an angle of like, I want to help people.
Right.
I want to help other planets. And then Hal's like, "Well, what's stopping him from? You don't understand because you're from a fascist regime." And he's like, "Fuck you." And he's like, "Whatever, man." And then Kilowog leaves.
At this point,
he never says he's joining the Lanterns. He just leaves.
At this point, and then at some point, the Yellow Lanterns start attacking the Green Lanterns' home planets after they get the ring.
Before they do that, they destroy the power. They destroy the battery.
Yeah,
the Green Lantern power battery finally gets destroyed.
The power battery, yeah.
And Hal finds out because he is in the process of going back to Earth.
He almost dies, and guess who shows up?
He suffocates in Earth, but
guess who shows up?
We find out before that, before all of that, we find out that the hostages
There's more to the Yellow Lanterns than first we knew.
Right. So the hostages get broken out by the Yellow Lantern that's guarding Laria. He gives them the power core and the ring.
And literally says, I don't want to
do this anymore. I've killed too many people. I can't.
So they're on their way back to Earth.
And they're like, what do you mean? He goes, I come from a land... Oh my God, I got to pull this up because when this Yellow Lantern describes his backstory, it's such a fucking cool shot because it's a silhouette of his face that takes over the page, and then all the actions are happening in the silhouette that like is his head, and then you go to the next page and that style, that art, like look at that shit, unbelievable. So we learned about him being this group of Cordians. And they found him. He crash landed into the Earth, into their planet, and he helped them build. He built the device that we'll learn about more in a minute. And he helped create the Yellow Lanterns. And he said, in turn, he made us work for him and be obedient. It was us paying off a debt, pretty much. And they reference that later in the story. But he's like, I don't want to kill people anymore. So take this, do whatever you can. So they take it.
They were fine doing it back in their own home universe because they wanted to stop being oppressed. But then
they rose up and fought their oppressor, and then
now you got to come to this other universe and do the same shit. They're
guys,
like, that's not ours. We don't care.
That's the tale as old as time. It's oldest time.
Oldest time.
So yeah, we got that. That's all set up, and they find Hal in space because they go out into space. They all are able to be surrounded by the ring's energy, and they are flying in space trying to get back to Earth. Before Hal was slowly dying in space, he set a transmission with whatever power he had left in his ring. He's like, anybody can hear this transmission. I am Harold Jordan.
And guess who was kind of hanging out not that far away?
Oh, it's Jon Stewart and the others.
Duck anyway. No, it's the people in the ship.
Yeah,
the faster than life. No, because the hostages are with Hal Jordan in the little bubble, and then they find
the bridge.
Yeah, they find the faster than light ship
bridge that Hal Jordan was working on, and what they were working on in the first book.
So then they save him.
So they save him, and they put him in the ship, and they're like, "Well, what are we gonna do?" Because the power core to your Green Lanterns are out, and they attacked all the Green Lanterns that are protecting their planets. So he's purging the universe of Green Lanterns. Which again, like when I'm reading the book and he destroys the battery, I'm like, oh fuck, because I was thinking Hal's gonna die.
There's a point where after that, I can't remember, but before the final sequence of the book, there's a point where somebody says to Harold Jordan, they say he destroyed the green battery, and he goes, and right away I was like, no, he transported it to the other universe.
See, here's the thing. I had no idea what the Cordians were. I had not read any of that stuff. So I honestly thought he blew it up. But then I snowed it. But then when you say that and they brought up the interdimensional thing, I was like, oh, there was no debris. There was no explosion.
It's eventually revealed that, yes, he just transported it. And he brings the Yellow Lantern over because it works in both universes.
It's stronger in the other
physical properties in this universe are different enough for him to use
where the Cordians are. In that dimension, the Cordian dimension.
In the Cordian dimension, the yellow battery works a certain way according to the laws of that dimension, and then
it's stronger in our.
But
universe.
he needs to bring it over to our universe because the physical properties of our universe, our dimension, work differently on the battery, so that he basically has more power.
Yeah, that's why the Yellow Lanterns are so much stronger than the Green Lanterns.
Right. Yeah.
And so he finds out about this, and they're like, well, what are you going to do? And he's like, I'm going to go fucking kill him.
Yeah.
And they're like, Hal, you were fucking dying in space. You need to take a second. We have a yellow. And he's like, I don't want to use that yellow ring. Like, he's against using the ring. And Jon Stewart's like, what's the fucking point? Why don't we just use it?
Yeah.
That's another thing that I forgot to mention. Before he gets rid of the core, the battery core. Before any of that happens, the book really gets heavy-handed on like, well, he created the Green Lantern ring and we can still use those, so maybe he's not this oppressive guy. And then
they literally
destroys it.
Just keep
and then he kills all the Green Lanterns. Oh, by the way, when they're doing the montage of killing the Green Lanterns, it's fucking brutal.
It's pretty sad.
Like, there's no blood and guts, but like it's brutal in a sense.
When the shark thing is getting blown up and he's just screaming like, ring, shield, shield, and he's just getting fucking blown apart.
Or they're every time they kill them, they're begging, like the Green Lanterns are begging for their life. They're like, please stop.
It's a shark thing. I don't know any shark things that talk, and yet I am sitting there going, I'm reading this and I'm like, that's fucking sad, man. Like,
and if this were a movie, it would be like a sad melodramatic score underneath.
Yeah, it's like Leia, Order 66 almost.
Or like Leia piano exit. Honestly, I wouldn't mind that if they.
So they get to the end. They get to the. They finally everybody arrives on.
So the plan
at
is
some point. Everybody arrives.
The plan is we're gonna shoot. We're gonna go to this other dimension and get the battery core back, and bring it back and fight. You know, like, so that's, and
there's a lot of plans at once, but some of them don't work.
They're trying to get the battery core at the same time. Hal is going to distract the Guardian.
They got to find the Guardian, and then they reveal that he's on the ship, and he says
he was using to go in other dimensions.
Right, and he says, Hal, we gotta, or they say
he sucks Hal into the dimensional ship.
First, they say, Hal, we're gonna have to drop the bomb on the ship, the core on the ship. Which sucks because then you can't go get the Green Lantern. He says, whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
Then he gets transported by the Guardian onto his ship. They have a big old fight outside.
You have the classic villain speech and the whole like, I want you to join me.
Outside, the ship is in big trouble, and that's when the lady says, somebody's got to stay on the ship. I'll do it. It's not color-coded.
The colorblind girl does it, but she was also impaled. Like, she was dying.
Yeah. She couldn't put on the EVA
She was going to die anyway.
Yeah,
so she's like, I'll stay with the ship.
It's a pretty powerful moment because she's one of those ancillary characters that's like, wow, I really grew to care about this character. But then so they need to ram the ship and blow it up, and they're like, we hope Hal's not over on it. All the yellow lanterns with Sinestro actually turn on. They stop being dicks.
By the way, that's another really cool twist. Sinestro actually ends up having somewhat of a redemption arc.
Yeah.
But Aristia's like, this doesn't let you off the hook. You're still a fucking dick for leaving us.
Yeah.
But he turns back because eventually he's like, I didn't join this to be led by a dictator.
So
I wanted the power.
Right before the ship hits, the Guardian's ship disappears into the other dimension. Everybody just assumes that Hal's dead. Life goes on. There's yellow lanterns.
Again, you need to read it. We're brushing over. There's a lot of good stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, we have to brush over it. Otherwise, we'd be talking about it for 3 hours, which is fine. I could. But the end is the coolest because he didn't die.
Well, what I thought was really cool is, he's strapped with the cords in the parallel dimension. 3 years later. But
he's got the battery.
And there's a scene where you just see like this hutch, like shack type area, which is similar to what you saw in the flashback from the Yellow Lantern that gave it to John Stewart. He says, Guardian, we need your help. And he's like, I'm on it. And it's just a stream of green light. And then it's Hal Jordan in the air saying, but please stop calling me Guardian.
Yeah.
So he's in that dimension. He didn't die, but he's trapped in that dimension. So I'm assuming Volume 3, if they make one.
That's what we want to talk about.
They're going to get him with John Stewart.
Like you said at the beginning of the podcast, of the episode, is there a need for a sequel? I say only if the story is worth it. And here would be my idea to bring back Hal Jordan from the other universe is you have to somehow use the Star Sapphire Carol Ferris story. Somehow make that a thing in this universe. But again, you have to give me a reason why I want to read more about Harold Jordan. Because honestly, I'm cool with that being the end.
I think it's a cool idea that he protects the Cordians.
I'm cool with that being the end. What do you think? And then
John Stewart, because before that, John Stewart's like, we should, because he still has
because there's no Green Lanterns in the other universe because the battery's in quartz.
And John Stewart still has a yellow ring. So
they're all yellow.
I know. But my point is that John Stewart is going to carry his legacy, but as a Yellow Lantern.
Right.
That's
and Aricia,
twist.
There's a cool part where Aricia, I said she's a badass, and their green rings don't work anymore, obviously. But at one point, she shows up with a yellow ring, and somebody's like, "Hey, where'd you get that?" With no weapons whatsoever. And she says, "There's a Yellow Lantern tried to attack us, and I took him down." It's just like, holy shit.
I would again read it. Both of them. Green Lantern Earth 1 Volume 1 and Volume 2 are both really solid books. And
5 out of 5 stars.
I love them both, and I love them because you don't have to be a Green Lantern fan to like them. You don't have to know anything about the character or the lore. This is pretty self-contained, pretty easy to read. Dude, we talk about
if they had made the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie based off of Volume 1, oh my God, it would have been so much better. Because he kind of looks like him with the beard.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Also, another thing I wanted to point out, interesting design choice in these books. The logo is a hologram on their chest. It never is actually on their chest. It's always projected, which is an interesting choice. But, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think that the way...
I don't know.
At first, I don't know if
Still
I really
singing everything.
liked the ending. But the more I sat with it, I kind of liked it more because he's still serving a purpose as being a hero. He saved the universe already, and so I could like him defending the Cordians. I kind of like it. I kind of like that.
If this husband and wife team have like an idea for like a trilogy, then by all means, please. Because
I feel like 3 would be getting Hal back,
right,
and getting the Green Lanterns back.
But if you don't, I'm cool with you guys leaving it the way it is. I really, really am. Mm-hmm. It's actually
a pretty satisfying story.
It's a perfect ending for him.
Yeah.
Because he does. And
honestly, I wouldn't be against Volume 3 being focused on John Stewart.
No,
I wouldn't be against that.
That wouldn't. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
I would like it, but then would it be Yellow Lantern Volume 1? Maybe.
That's why.
There you go, DC. You stupid assholes. I just gave you a free idea.
Right.
Anyway, so that's it for Green Lantern Earth 1 Volume 2. Hope you should read it because we did gloss over some stuff because I don't want we don't want to give you everything.
We don't
want to give you everything. But anyway, that's all for that.